Book to film. I guess the first thing I'd say is there are lots of people who'll tell you if you're an author, oh, don't worry with film adaptations, oh, that's a bit tricky, or it's a different medium, or no, don't go there. I would urge you to do it. If you've written a novel or you're thinking about writing a novel and you like the idea of your story making it to the big screen, then think about writing it yourself. There is a process to learn. And I suppose for me personally, one of the things that I found quite easy about the transition is that it was the structure of writing novels, because a film is often the rough story arc of a novel. But in terms of dialogue and action, it was more like my everyday writing in the news business. So I guess in one sense I found that reasonably easy. But if you've got an ear for dialogue in your writing, you won't find it that difficult to make the transition. The key point, obviously, is you are trying to strip something down to the essence of the story. And the novels that are easiest to adapt are those where it's got a very tight, very simple thriller engine. Now, I talked in How to Write a Thriller about this book, Shadow Dancer, which I also turned into a film. The film was actually relatively simple to write because the engine at the heart of the thriller, MI5 officer recruits woman agent in the IRA. She goes back, is betraying her family, comes under suspicion. Meanwhile, he realizes his bosses have got a more important agent in the IRA and that they're just looking to lose his woman as soon as suspicion gets too heightened. And then there's a big reveal at the end. That worked as quite a simple engine. I got rid of all the extraneous stuff and I concentrated on that. And because the central idea was quite simple and quite strong, it was relatively simple to adapt. And if you look at some really great book-to-film adaptations, certainly in the thriller market, like Silence of the Lambs and Presumed Innocent, which I talked a little about in the How to Write Thriller, those have such clever, simple engines at the start. You know, in Presumed Innocent, it's about this prosecutor, did he or did he not murder the beautiful woman he was having an affair with? In Silence of the Lambs, obviously, it's about Clarice Starling playing these terrible mind games with Hannibal Lecter in order to solve the case. But simple ideas that translate very easily to film. I think the last thing I'd make about the adaptation is that when you're writing for film, you are effectively at some point, once a director comes on board, or at least the way I view it, operating as the first assistant director, in that you're trying to help the director. It will be the director who will visualize and create this story on the screen. And really, I found it easiest to see myself as the person trying to help them. So in a way, you're letting go of your story. So just as one example, James Marsh, who directed Shadow Dancer, who I was really close to and I'm a good friend of and I think is the most wonderful, brilliant guy, he ended up totally changing the ending, which I'd already changed massively from the novel. But 3 weeks before we shot, he said he wanted to totally change the ending. Now, it was quite controversial. Certainly the American financiers didn't like it. But I think he was right, and I think it really makes the film. And I went with him because I thought, okay, my job here is to realise his idea, because I can see the logic of it. At the moment, I'm adapting both this, Secret Service, actually for a TV series with a really brilliant producer. I'm also, my next novel, Yesterday's Spy, I'm also working on a film version of that. The film version is quite an example because I've been working with a very good director from the earlier stage, and he has a very singular vision of how he wants to do it, and so I'm trying to get inside his head and match my story with the film he wants to make. So it's a very different process as a writer, much more collaborative, and I've kind of worked out now that really what I want to do is get my novel down first, so I've got my story, and then you can begin the process of letting go, working with directors and producers to realise something totally different and hopefully wonderful.